Hey guys, what's up? Today we're going to talk about this feller right here. We've talked about this in many videos before, but this is just going to be an overall of this whole thing. What do I have in this? What do I think about it? The end result, what do we got? Let's talk about it. Alright guys, so the Glock 43X. We're going to go in chronological order from what we started with to what we have now to what we might change later. Okay, so what we started with was a stock 43X. Okay, I remember when the 43X came out. I liked the way that it looked. I liked everything about it pretty much, except there's no rail. There's still no rail, except for in Europe, apparently. But other than that, I liked this system, right? I liked how this thing looked. And so I went out and I got one from GT Distributors, I think is what it was. Pretty good deal. They had pretty good price on it. And just a stock 43X. Once I got that in, I was looking around because I liked red dots. At the time, I didn't have a Trijicon. At the time, I just had a Holosun 507C. Okay, and I ran that on a Glock 19 and I loved it. And so I wanted to put that optic on this gun. Well, in looking around, I found one company, at the time, it was just one company that would do a cut for the 43X, right? Or 43 or 48, I guess. That would do a cut that would allow you to mount a full-size red dot, okay? And the thing with that is that you have your slide is slim, and as you can kind of see, I'll put some pictures in you can see a little bit better, the red dot is actually wider than the slide, which is a bad thing because the screws that it mounts with, they're not going to work very well if you try to screw those into a slide and the screws aren't matching up very well. It's just not going to work. Once that came in, I started looking around and I found one company at the time that did the cut right here to mount a Trijicon RMR. I reached out to them and they were kind enough to basically do the work for me in exchange for me doing some videos for them. I thought it was a pretty good deal. So basically we did that. I sent the slide off. Basically, I don't even know if I got to shoot the gun before I sent it off. But anyway, I got the gun in, I took the slide, sent it straight over to Suarez International. It took them a little while, but they finally got the slide back to me. So Suarez has something they call the NSA plate. Excuse me, that's the narrow slide adapter. So basically they cut their slide, right? Or they cut your slide so you can put their plate, so you can mount your optic to the plate, if that makes sense. Genius idea. That was the only company at the time that I could find that actually would do these kind of things. So that's why I reached out to them. During the time that was getting milled, I think is when it was, I got a good deal on a used Trijicon RMO 6, right? So I can't remember if this is a 6 MOA dot or a 3 MOA dot, but it's relatively small. I think it's a 3 MOA dot. Don't quote me on that. But just a simple red dot on a Trijicon RMR. I liked that. And it has it's manual, right? It's got the buttons on the side. It doesn't have the fiber optic kind of thing. I didn't really want that, but it's manual. I liked that. Okay, so it's always on, whatever. They don't have a shake awake thing. It's just always on. So they did it. They sent it back to me. I mounted the optic. Bing, bang, boom. Awesome. And then I was like, well, it sits up a little high because just like any other red dot you put on a gun, you're probably going to need to get some suppressor height sights. So I used my own money. That's the only thing they gave me pro bono or whatever. I used my own money and I bought some Suarez International irons, and they're street comp. Okay, I got the irons mainly, honestly, because they were a better price than the other options that were out there, and I wanted to get a green fiber optic front sight and blacked out rears. And there's the best price and the only ones available. A lot of them were not available at the time. As you can see, the rear, it's got serrations on it, so it doesn't have a bunch of shine and stuff on it, but they're blacked out rear sights. They do have 2 screws right here that help secure the optic down. It's not going to be moving around anywhere. And the front sight, it is serrated too, but as you can see, it's got a green fiber optic in it. And I liked that because as you can see, try to line it up a little bit for you, my red dot is red. That's why it's a red dot. And then my green fiber optic is green. And I didn't want a red and red because I thought that potentially could get confusing. So having a green front sight and having a red dot, I thought that would be a good contrast. And so far it's worked out very well for me. So I mounted those things, have the red dot on here, and then the street comp, I went with that because, again, at the time, theirs was the cheapest one available. I can't remember who makes the other one, the big name company that has those out. I can't remember, but This was, I think, like 2/3 of the price of the competition. Street comp is secured. It's got 2 screws kind of coming in at 45-degree angles, I believe. But it screws onto this barrel, which we'll get to that in a second. But it screws onto the barrel, and then you secure it with those screws. I never had a problem with it trying to walk off. I just had a guy message me not too long ago saying that he has one that's trying to walk off. As you can see, there is like no gap whatsoever between the comp. I can pull it back a little bit. There we go. Yeah, there's like no gap between the comp and the slide. And I have never had this comp try to work its way off or whatever. It's just never happened. For me, I've actually had the complete opposite, where I've had this thing screwed in there, and I don't know if it was a mix between the Loctite I used or the number of rounds that I put through it, but it was tight. I couldn't get it off to save the life of me for a while. I had to soak it. And the only reason I took it off is I was trying to compare shooting it without a comp to shooting it with a comp, and I obviously had to get the break off. Anyway, comp works. As you can, I don't know if I've done any videos specific for this comp, but it does work. You can feel it trying to pull the gun back down. When you shoot the gun, you can feel those ports. It's got ports in the top, and then it's got ports on the side a little bit, but the big ports on the top, and you can feel it try to push the gun down a little bit, right? It's still snappy. It's a relatively small handgun, but you can feel it trying to work, which is good, which is what I wanted it to do. That is attached, I kind of skipped it, but that's attached to a barrel that I got from a place called Peace Geek. Weird name, but like peace, right? Peace Geek. I don't know exactly how they do it. I really don't know. I think they get overruns or overstocks or whatever of items, and they sell them very, very discounted. Okay, Peace Geek, I don't know exactly how they do their business, what exactly they do. I don't think they manufacture anything themselves. Don't quote me on that. But my understanding is they get overruns or overstocks or whatever from different companies that are unbranded, and they sell them unbranded way cheaper than you're going to get it from wherever it is that you're getting it from. Yeah, so they're not available right now anymore, but when at the time, I should have got a couple of them because that was a really, really good deal. But that was a HAPA 28 threaded barrel for a 43X or 43 because it fits the same thing. So that's how that was mounted. With the comp, some questions I've got before with the comp and how that's all set up, I didn't have to tune or do anything special to the recoil spring. It's the stock same one that it came with. Didn't have any problems. I had, I guess, some problems initially, but I would call that break-in. Any gun should have a break-in. It's brand new stuff, stuff's stiff, you know, especially when you start adding a bunch of stuff on it, the gun needs to break into itself in a way. And I've shot thousands and thousands of rounds through this thing. And if you shoot normally, this gun works. If you fill your magazines with dirt, sand, water, mud, and ants, it's probably going to hiccup on you, right? And it does, because guns aren't made to run, like cars aren't made to run with sugar and salt in the gasoline. It's not the car's fault. It's just not made to do that. Magazines aren't made to run with ant, dirt, grimes, and mud and water and sand in it. Neither are guns, okay? A little caveat there to different things. So that's basically where we set for probably a good couple months. I ran that, we're talking about the overall system kind of. I ran that in this Spider Concealment holster. And this holster, talk about it real quick. It didn't come like this. Obviously, it was like a one piece. And I ended up cutting it in half, riveting, putting some rivets in it, and then running this little lanyard thingy, kind of like a tier 1 design. It's actually a tier 1 lanyard, or bungee, whatever. So I ran that through there, and then I use some of these Haley Strategic belt clips, because the way that they stick out, you can see that the way they stick out, they actually push the gun back into you a little bit. Makes this very concealable for me, and very comfortable with that flex that's got in it now. Very, very comfortable. So I like this. You can't buy it like this. Apparently, Spider Concealment's making one kind of similar to this, where it's got some flex in it now. I don't even know if that one's out yet or not. But that's what I use. And I went with this instead of a tier 1, because even with all the stuff that I did to it, adding the different clips and buckles and rivets and stuff, it's probably still around a 65, maybe a 75 after shipping and everything. That's about half the price you're going to pay for a tier 1 concealment. Now, tier 1, I will say, hands down, bar none, best appendix carry holster out there, bar none. I love them, love them, love them, love them. But at the time, I wanted to try something a little bit different, and for this, even though it looks kind of funky, I had to test it for the longest time to make sure that it's going to work. I even had to cut the sight
cut the holster to fit the sight because it was sitting up a little bit initially, but now it works just fine.
So that's basically all we did to this upper part. The lower, the frame, I polished the trigger. If you saw my 25-cent trigger polish fail job, this is the lower that we did that on. And for whatever reason, I obviously messed that up because after I was done, I upped the poundage of the trigger pull by a couple pounds. It's worked itself out by then. I've cleaned it and stuff. I don't know what I did wrong, but it's still like, I think it's a 5.5 or something, whatever trigger pull. It's not bad. It's a normal stock trigger pull. Didn't really change anything. But I left the gun like that at the time. Okay.
So that's the evolutionary scale of what we had until, well, at the beginning of the year, whenever these guys, the Shield Arms guys, whenever they came out with these S15 magazines, total, I'm sorry for the cliche, but total game changer. It changed this guy, totally changed it in my book. So I went ahead and got one of their aluminum metal magazine releases, and I like theirs. The way that theirs is set up, it is not super aggressive. It doesn't stick out super far like some of them do. I have some from another company, and the way that this does not stick out super far, I like that. I like it. It's pretty much just like a regular magazine release, but it does have some nice checkering on it, so you can grab it really easy. And I don't have a problem with this being in my holster and that extended magazine being there and me actually pushing and popping the magazine out, which I have had that happen on some other guns. So after we did that and put that magazine release on there and started carrying the S15 magazines, we haven't touched this thing. It's just continued to run. If you've seen, like I just mentioned earlier, if you've seen my videos of my torture test for the magazines, I kind of haven't mentioned it a whole lot, just a couple times here and there, but the gun itself has done amazing. The stuff we put through the magazines, right? It's crazy that the gun itself is running through all the grit, all the sand, all the ants and the water and the mud, all that stuff. The round count is crazy. We did have some initial break-in periods and stuff with the barrel. I think it was just a combination of the barrel and the brake and all that kind of stuff. We did have some initial issues and stuff where sometimes it wouldn't feed or it would hiccup here and there. But nowadays, no, I carry this thing all the freaking time, right? I can say that. Like anytime I'm pretty much out of the house, I've got this thing and I trust this thing. It's gonna hit what I'm aiming at as long as I do my part, and it's gonna cycle and it's gonna function fine. Love it.
So that's it. That's really it. So if you've had the question before, what is in your gun? I'll go over it real quick and tell you it's a Trijicon RMO6, it's a Trijicon RMR RMO6, Swerves International NSA plate adapter, Swerves International iron sights with a green fiber optic front sight, a Swerves International street comp, right? A Shield Arms magazine release, a barrel from Peace Geek, and that's it. That's the gun. And the Glock 43X from GT Distributors. That's it. That's basically it. I could have said it all right there in less than a minute probably. And then the Spider Concealment Appendix rig is what they call it. And these Shield Arms magazines. That's what I got.
Quick couple little things, real quick, before we totally wrap this video up. Total disclosure, again, NSA, or not NSA, Swerves International did this optic cut for me. And at the time, right, that was the only company that I could find that did that, okay? I ran into an issue several months ago where I had a sim round that I found sitting around, and I shot it out of this gun. You're not supposed to do that, so don't do things like monkey say, monkey do, don't do it, okay? I shot it out of here, and it did fire, it didn't eject. I had to take this thing and basically go to a post, or I can't remember if it was the table or a target stand or whatever it was, and I smacked the crap out of this thing off of the red dot, right? I wasn't concerned about it because I'd done that kind of stuff before, racking it off a table, racking it off my belt, racking it off a bunch of different things to simulate, one-hand manipulation kind of stuff, and I've never had a problem with it. Well, this case was stuck so hard, and I had to hit that gun against that post so hard, I actually ended up knocking it loose, okay? As you can see, this has 2 screws that hold the optic to the plate, okay? There are no mounting, or what you call anchor points or whatever, mounting pillars on the NSA plate. There's nothing there. all you have are those 2 screws. Up to that point, I would have called this thing bomb proof because I couldn't bust it loose. Didn't have any issues with it. But under those circumstances of I'm talking like punching you would use in, like, if you're fighting for something, whatever, right? You're actually punching with full force to break loose whatever was stuck in the chamber, because it was stuck in there. I was able to bust it loose. Okay, so unless you're doing that, right, if you're doing simple other clearance drills and things, you're going to be fine. But I ran into that issue, and that kind of put a little thing in the back of my head saying I need to start looking around for something else, because some people would say that's a no-go, right? The gun gets put away, it becomes a range toy, you're not going to use it after that. Well, I've been using it thousands and thousands of rounds. It's never come loose. It's never done anything crazy like that until I did that. So if you ran the gun over, and I never ran the gun over because I'm not into that kind of thing, but if you ran the gun over, or if you really, really smashed it against something, you could potentially knock those sights off. This goes into your training and everything. That's why you have backup sights. If you go present the gun and you notice that your irons are lined up, but your red dot's way over here on left field somewhere, well, then obviously you're not going to go with your red dot. Something's wrong. That's why you have irons. Okay, so I'm just putting that out there. I know some people disagree with that. I'm just putting that out there. And yeah, it is what it is.
So that got my head, it put a little thing in the back of my head saying you need to start looking for another option. Okay, and since then I have seen other companies out there that make these kind of plates, and from what I remember, some of them do have those pillars. So I would recommend, if you are looking for this kind of option, and if you're going to use this for, I don't know why you would use this gun for a competition gun, but if it fits your budget, it's like $125 or whatever. If it fits your budget and that's what you want to get, and you have everything else and you just want to do that, I still carry this gun. That's why I did that caveat earlier. I still carry this gun. I still trust this gun. I still would use this gun in a real life situation. Obviously, that's why I carry it, because I carry it. It's like insurance, right? But it got me thinking about other options out there.
So I'm looking for some different options. That's why this guy, at this point in time, he has capped out on his evolutionary scale. I can't get another plate adapter. I keep saying NSA. Suarez doesn't make a plate that I'm aware of that has those mounting pillars in it. If they did, then I would just get that plate, put it on this gun, and then I would call this thing bomb proof and totally good to go, like for duty use, quote unquote. At the time, they don't have something like that. I can bust this thing loose if I hit it against something really hard. Okay.
So do with that information whatever you want to do with that information. I'm just giving it out there. Again, my opinions. This is what's happened to me. This is what's going on with this gun. Do I still trust it? Yes. Do I still use it? Yes. Okay. Anyway, I really hope that gave you information that you could possibly use. And I hope I didn't just confuse everybody on that. Anyway, some honorable mentions in this whole get up right here, and then I'll let y'all go. He probably already left because it's got really weird. Honorable mentions on the way that I carry all this stuff is the Neo Mag. My main gripe about this Neo Mag is that I didn't come up with the idea myself. Like, it's a piece of metal with a clip and a magnet, right? I wish it was like $15, but it's more like 40, unfortunately. But it's really handy. It's one of the best ways, in my opinion, to carry an extra magazine with you all the time. It just sticks in your pocket. It just looks like you're either carrying a pen or a pocket knife. People don't really look at it, as far as I know. Very handy, very useful. I actually also use this during the tactical games because we needed a 10-round magazine for bonus rounds. And instead of carrying that on my belt and get that mixed up with, the other magazines, I just put the 10-rounder in my pocket and the Neo Mag, and I knew I wasn't going to get it mixed up, so that's nice.
Okay, so the other honorable mention is the ammo. Okay, if you're going to carry a self-defense gun, I recommend investing in some good ammo. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit and tell you something that I probably shouldn't tell you, because now everybody's just going to say whatever, but I'm just going to say it anyway. For the longest time, I carried Wolf and Tula as my duty ammo. And the idea behind that, the reasoning behind that, first of all, it's cheap, okay? Second of all, it's cheap. So I was able to practice with that ammo, right? My gun was zeroed with that ammo, and I shot thousands upon thousands of rounds of that ammo through my gun, and I know my gun cycles it, I know my gun hits with it, I know I can hit with it, and the important thing is being responsible for your bullet. Where's that bullet gonna go? I didn't have issues with it just having huge groups at like 7 yards. No, I can hit what I'm trying to hit at, okay? I finally found a good deal. I broke down and I got it. The federal HSTs. I carried these things professionally, right? When I was in law enforcement, I didn't carry 9mm, I carried 40, so 165 grain, I think is what it is. HSTs. These things are wicked. I can personally attest. These things are wicked. They will destroy whatever they're hitting. I mean, you look at the end of that thing looks like it's got its mouth wide open with sharp teeth, and it's going to eat you. Pretty much what it will do. So 124 grain for this gun is what I'm using. They make 147. I think they make 150, and just some different other things. I like these for what they are. I don't need a subsonic load out of this gun. I need the bullet to be nice, fast, and flat. That's what I'm going for, is fast and flat, and as long as it cycles. And I've shot enough through this gun to know that these things will cycle through this gun, through the 48. Don't have any issues with that. We did mention the S15 magazines. These things are awesome, okay? If you have a 43X or a 48, you need to get these, okay? If you carry it for real use, if it's just a range toy, do whatever you want to do with it. But if you're actually going to want to carry these things for self-defense, I can't recommend these high enough. Giving you the capacity of a regular Glock 19 out of the size of a 43X or 48, this is awesome, okay? Get these things. So that's what I carry. That's what I carry. That's why I carry it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I probably confused a lot of y'all, and I am sure I made some people upset by some of the things that I said and how I said it. I'm just not that great of a communicator, I think, a lot of times. So I probably communicated some stuff wrong. But if you have any questions about any of this stuff, whether it be the gun, whether it be any of the stuff on the gun, whether it be the holster or the ammo or the mags or whatever, hit me up, all right? Hit me up here, hit me up on Instagram. CP Downing, I think is what it is. It'll be linked down below somewhere. Hit me up if you want an answer. And if I don't answer you on Instagram or on YouTube, then hit me up on Instagram or vice versa, whatever. I try to get back to everybody that has an actual question, all right? Sometimes some people say some weird things and I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm supposed to respond to that, but you know, I'll respond to it anyway, best as I can. But if you have any questions, let me know and I'll try to answer your questions. And that's it. And I'm going to stop saying questions because I think I said questions like 6 times, and I try to put a stop to me beating dead horses to death because I'm running out of horses, right? You can, yeah, anyway, I was going to make a dad joke, but I stopped myself, okay? Y'all be good to be safe, and we'll catch you on the next video.